Hey everybody, Diane Brendan Moody again. Here I am with another episode of 50 Something Love. Thank you so much for coming along on this ride with me. Hey, do me a favor and send a link to one of your friends or your neighbors or anybody that you know that may be trying to date over 50 because I promise I can make it easier for everybody if you do that. You can also, if you're tired of dating apps and you want to meet people in person, you can go to my website, dianebrandonmoody.com, and grab my 50 places to meet people over 50. So here's today's topic. I was asked to talk about how to communicate hard things. Now, the person left me this note in a Facebook group, and I wasn't able to double check with them and find out a little bit more context. So I'm going to make up a couple of contexts for you. The first one is I would say how to communicate hard things with someone you're just meeting while dating. And then I'll say how to communicate hard things when you're a little bit more into a relationship. So, when you are dating, how to communicate hard things. I don't know specifically what hard things she was asking about, but I'm going to make up a couple. Um, for instance, you have overcome breast cancer. Yay, you. But you had a double mastectomy and then a reconstruction. So your breasts don't look like they used to. That would be a hard thing to talk about. Somewhere along the road, you ended up with herpes. How do you communicate that? Maybe your ex left you in a lurch and your finances are pretty tight right now. And so your dating budget is fairly limited. Whether you're the guy or the girl, you know, your budget for dating is a little bit on the tight side. So you're just, you know, not sure. You've gained weight. Um, you've got a not great relationship with your ex, which can cause problems, any of those things. Okay, so let's talk about this if we're talking, you're just meeting someone. Generally, I like to say that it's good to start talking about difficult topics around date three. Why date three? Why not just come out with all of it on date one? I think because on date one, you're still pretty much strangers. You just really don't know each other very well. And coming up with anything negative is just going to be a hard pass by most people. Most people are just going to go, okay, well, see ya. And maybe that's okay with you. If it is, then be my guest, do it that way. But the reason I think a third date is better is because by this time you have an interest in each other. And by this time, you're more talking to um, a friend, an acquaintance, someone you know, but not very well yet. So somebody who is, if they're interested enough to see you, as far as a third date, they probably have some interest in you as a person. So I would say, first of all, let's not assume that whatever it is you want to share is an automatic freak show, horror show, and people are going to run screaming out the door. Let's not assume that, okay? That'll make part of it a lot easier. I was same Facebook group that I use for research that I'm speaking about here. Um, it was about a year ago, I think, one woman who had overcome breast cancer in just the manner I described wrote a post and said, how, I want to get back into dating, but this is my situation, and I'm afraid that people are going to run away from me. And I was so delighted and so touched by man after man after man after man after man who posted, I would still consider you beautiful. I would still consider you strong. I would believe that if you got through that, you could get through most of life's problem. I would feel tender toward you because life has probably not been easy for you. And, so many comments like that that just made me want to tear up because of the kindness of those posts. And a couple of them were pretty honest and said, I would believe that you went through a lot, and I'm not sure that I'm going to be strong enough to help you. They didn't put that in a bad way. They put it in an honest way. And wouldn't you want that from somebody? I think that would be amazing. Amazing. If somebody was going to be direct with me and say something like that, it might sting a little in the moment, but I would be so grateful eventually that if they really didn't think they could handle my life, that they just told me. Wouldn't it be just fantastic? So let's not assume that the answer is going to be the first thing is that people think you're just a freak show, because it isn't. There are going to be people who have been through a lot of difficult things. Some of them may have dealt with it before and aren't up for round two, and that's okay. Because if that's the case, then they need to let you know, and then you'll know. So that's good to know. So, what about something like herpes? This, again, the third date is something because I think the third date is a great time for couples to start discussing sex and when it might happen. I don't think it needs to happen um, at the third date. I know there's kind of a myth that goes around with men that, it's the third date or it's over with. I don't think that needs to be the case at all. And if he were holding that over me, then I would say, well, see ya, because you don't get to dictate that. But um, but at the same time, I would say that's a good time to bring it up because you don't want to get further attached to somebody if somebody isn't going to want to, deal with herpes, which can be very easy to get to understand and deal with if you know how. So, where most of the trouble comes from something like a sexually transmitted disease of that kind or another kind is simply because people are ignorant. And learning more about the topic would help a lot in that scenario. So, and again, if somebody is not up to the challenge, wouldn't you rather know it now than the day after you slept together? So, that would be a good one. If budget is an issue for you, then I think you just come out and say it. You can say it on the third date. Again, I think the third date is a good time to do it, but you can also say it with your head held high because there are a lot of people that are facing that kind of thing right now or anytime. Excuse me. And to say something like, I would love to make you dinner. I'm afraid tickets for the ball game are out of my budget right now, but I would still love to make you dinner if you're up for that. And you just say it like it's not a problem and nobody's going to think it is one because a lot of people are in it. But do it with grace. I told this story once before on the podcast with the guy I went out with that he had coupons for happy hour. We were there after happy hour, and he very inelegantly argued with the server over using the coupons when she kept saying, but this is after happy hour. He just kind of kept trying to bully her, and I was never interested in him again. And it had nothing to do with the money he had or didn't have. It turned out he had plenty of money, but he was just, kind of a financial bully. And I had no interest in that from anyone at all. So, those are some ways to talk about some difficult issues. Those were some more specific examples. So, let's talk about kind of the formula because we could come up with stuff all day long. One is so the first one is to wait until the third date because at this point, Presumably, you have some interest in each other. You're not in love yet. You should not be in love with. Please, if you're in love by the third date, you're cruising for a bruise and don't do that. But you at least have some interest to keep going out with each other. And that's a good time because you care about each other at least a little bit and you're wanting the best for each other. You also know yourself well enough to know if this is a situation that you feel like you're capable of handling or not. I do not have kids. At one time, I was open to being with a man who had younger kids. I do have two stepkids, and they're well adults. We all get along just fine. But I didn't want to be in the position of raising small children because at this point, it's just not my interest. So I did know that about myself, and I would have said that. In fact, I did say that. I would just say it matter of factly. I just don't think I'd be the best mother at this age, and I'm not really interested in getting started there. Didn't bother anybody because by then we knew about each other enough that, you know, it was not a big deal. Wait for the third date. Secondly is to just say it. Just say it. Don't assume that someone is going to hate you or think less of you for whatever your news is. Like I was telling in the breast cancer story, I was so touched by the amount of men who were just so kind to this woman, so kind to her that no, it wouldn't be a problem at all. And even the ones who said, it probably would be a problem. My wife went through that, and I'm not sure I'm up for it again. We're still kind in their responses. So let's not assume the worst. Um, the others are just knowing that if somebody may at some point not be able to handle what you're offering. And wouldn't you rather know it sooner than later? I hope some of this has been helpful. I appreciate everybody who's continuing to listen. Tell your friends, tell your family, um, get in my emails. You can get that 50 places to meet people over 50. And I look forward to getting to know you better. Thank you so